Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the BA Forum. We are a podcast club that speak on a plethora of topics. Our goal is to promote individuality, speak for those that don't have a voice, and address the social topics that we all experience. Today's topic is the death penalty, hosted by Karen Calles. To begin, ladies, should one's morals reflect the discussions of our legal system, meaning that the decisions that our legal system makes, should the morals be the conciseness or the background to them?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Should one's morals reflect the discussions and decisions of our legal system? So the things that our legal system makes, what they talk about, should that be a reflection of their morals, their own personal morals?
I think what you're trying to say is if you have sort of a Christian morality and you don't believe in, say, abortion or something like that, would you be in favor of the death penalty? And how does your morality play into that?
Well, just in general, just to start off the discussion.
Well, and I'm just trying to further the discussion and ask the question. Are you saying your morality is different than the morality of the whole country? No, it's always going to differ. So I think what you're trying to say, or maybe what you're trying to ask, is if you favor it, could you favor it and it still be against your morality? No?
What I was trying to say is in the discussions of our government and the decisions that they make when they talk about what law should be made and what is best for our country, should it reflect their personal morals?
Well, what I'm saying is whose personal morals?
Those that are making the laws, our legal system.
Well, who makes the laws, Andrea?
Our Congress makes the laws, Mr. de Blasio.
Okay, and who elects the Congress members?
We do as the people. So essentially it's our morals that are being reflected into the government. And if we vote people who are conservative, people who don't are pro-life or who know gay marriage and stuff like that, then that's going to be a representation of the laws of our country. That's going to represent us. That's how we feel about it, which is why morality is relative. It's different for every person. But if the majority of us agree with one type of one decision, then that's how it's going to reflect on our laws.
What do you think, Simone?
My question is, are you saying if one person has a certain moral law, will the others follow it?
Well, I mean, not necessarily, but I think what I was trying to say, and what I thought Tori was asking, was if I believe, can I believe that two men should not marry each other? Okay, say that's a morality that I have. Okay, however, I live in a country that allows people to have their freedoms. So can I be in favor legally of something like that, but morally be opposed to it?
Yeah, because if you follow your own morals, that's your own opinion, basically. So if the whole country, America, land of the free, if the whole country chooses to let, per se, gay marriage actually happen, then you're just going to have to deal with it in the end, because not everyone's going to agree with what your opinion is. That's why it's called an opinion, because not everyone will agree with it.
Okay, I like what you had to say. But I wanted to add that a lot of people think that religion and morality, they do coincide, because a lot of us stem our morals from our religion. But if we put in religion into our government, that's when it gets messy. Like, you can add morality as long as we're all pretty much on the same page. Like, don't kill anyone, you're gonna go to jail. Like, don't rape, and don't something like that interferes or harms someone else, then that should be illegal, because you're not only affecting yourself, but you're affecting others around you. So yeah.
Right. Well, thou shalt not kill is a commandment and a Judeo-Christian moral. It's also a human moral. I don't think anyone, whether whether they have a religious morality or just a human morality, I think they agree with that. Do you agree with that? I mean, thou shalt not kill is a commandment, is it not?
Yes.
Okay, it's one of the 10 commandments, which is a Judeo-Christian belief system. Okay? But there are plenty of people in this country that are not religious, don't believe in God, but they would agree with that morality. So is that, what Andre is saying is, it's a religious moral to some people, it's just a human moral. It's not necessarily a religious moral. And what she was saying is, when you get religion mixed in with the government, that's when we begin to have a problem.
Okay. Okay. Would you view the purpose of the death penalty being punishment, revenge, or justice?
Well, for me, it would all depend on, let's say, pros and cons. And I wrote some down. So some some pros would be that the death penalty does give closure to like victims' families, and gives them justice to what happened. And your parole or escape can give criminals another chance to kill. So like, if they let them out of the death penalty and they're on parole, they're just on the streets, that'll just give them another chance to actually go kill someone else and go right back to trial or whatever. And some cons could be like, it sends the wrong message. Let's say, why kill people if you're trying to tell people that killing's wrong, and that life in prison is a much worse punishment than a more effective punishment. So it's not really doing anything, but then again, it is. So you don't really know if it's actually a good thing to actually have in our country or not. So yeah.
Taking someone's life, I don't see how it could be a punishment to that person, even regardless of what they did. They didn't, they don't have time to pay for that. Like, their life is ended right there. So there's nothing that will actually make them think like, oh, maybe what I did was wrong, or have remorse for what they did. And you said justice.
Revenge or justice.
Yeah. For justice, I feel like what Simone said, like, a lot of families can have closure, but a lot of the time people need to have forgiveness for that person. Forgiveness is what's really going to bring closure, because you can't have that hatred for someone in your heart for so long, and you can't go to them and actually forgive them, because they'll be dead. They won't ever hear your acceptance of what happened.
Well, again, I'm not trying to challenge your answer, but forgiveness is your morality. It may not be others people's. And that's where we get mixed up here in morality and justice. Is, your moral beliefs believe in forgiveness. Maybe mine don't. Maybe your relative was killed by this person and my relative was killed by this person. And my morals say, given the death penalty, your morals say we should forgive.
To elaborate on that topic of those that were murdered or raped or whatever heinous crime was committed against them and their families, do you believe that those families of those victims believe that the death penalty is easing their grief, allowing the mourning process to be a swifter and a better way of them getting over the death of their lost family member? Or do you think that the death penalty is more of a justification of proving that the government will take whatever precaution necessary to protect its people?
I say both, because with the bringing in the grief of the closure of grief within a family, that might bring the closure of grief for the victim who actually got killed by the killer. Now I'm saying, like, if the killer gets the death penalty, I honestly think that's just going to open up like another grieving box for that killer's family. So it's like a continuous, yes, it's a cycle. It's a continuous thing. It's never going to really bring closure, honestly.
What about, I can't think of my point. If the, or who is to decide whether the death penalty is used? Should that be up to the victim, or should that be up to the government? Meaning, if the death penalty is legal,
Right.
and it doesn't mean you always have to charge someone with the death penalty, right? But that's usually decided by the prosecution, by the government prosecuting the crime, whether they want to go for the death penalty or not. Should that be decided, or should that be decided by the victim's family?
I feel like it should be decided by the government, mostly because if you put it up to the victim or the victim's family, the answer usually will always be no. And I think that's not really going to be justice for anybody, just because a person's only going to choose what is best for themselves and not for other people when it comes to criminals or like murderers.
Wait. I'm confused on what you said. So your family's the victim of the crime, okay? And I'm the criminal. You're saying if it's up to you, you're going to say, no, don't give me the death penalty?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have your chance for justice, and you've chosen not to enact it in that way. You've chosen to say, no, let him have life in prison.
No, I'm saying like, oh yeah. Like if like taking into perspective, like if I were the person that committed the crime, like.
All right, that's the person whose rights matter the least.
Well, yeah, but your question was like if it should be up to the government or up to the victim's family.
Right.
I'm saying it should be up to the government because usually when it comes to the family or to the victim, they're always going to say no, like he shouldn't die. If it's the government, they're only going to do what they feel is right or is justice.
Why would you think the victim's family would always say no?
I think they would say yeah, because that person in their family had died because of that person. So they're most likely going to say yes, and it always.
I think
most
you get
likely
more
is
people
yes.
to say yeah than no.
Oh, I was thinking about like the criminal's family.
No, it's not
I got it confused.
That's
I'm
all right.
saying,
That's all right.
yeah, if it was like the victim's family,
Right.
they would usually just vote yes, no matter what the situation would have been. Like no matter what happened, what went down, like with the situation, no matter what reasoning the person had behind it, the victim's family is almost always going to vote yes, just because you killed my relative, so
Right.
you should die, and that's why it should be up to the government, because they don't have like a bias.
Right, they
Depending.
represent without prejudice is their job, is to represent without prejudice. Okay, I was just asking. I'm not saying I believe one way or the other.
Okay. Those that commit the most heinous crimes, such as mass murder, rape, and fatal armed robbery, are all candidates for the death penalty. Do you believe that there is such a crime worthy of such the punishment?
Are you saying those crimes in that area should be required for death penalty? Like
No, I'm saying what punishment do you believe is acceptable to, as a result, be the death penalty?
Oh, okay.
If I had to choose any, I mean, I really don't like to. I
Or
don't
none.
think
It can
I
be
would.
none.
Yeah, I wouldn't really choose any. But if I was leaning towards something, I guess it'd be serial killers because they just go around killing everyone. I mean, they got to stop them somehow. If you put them in jail, they might just kill everyone in jail. You never know. Or we can put them in like a
Solitary
Guantanamo Bay type. Anywho,
Without rights and everything. Yeah.
yeah,
that'd be good.
pretty much. But yeah, I feel like there's no reason why you should take anyone's life. Like no reason at all. and you shouldn't be that person to have to kill that person, because that'll like, if you had to actually like inject them or shoot them, like there's so many different ways to do it. Like, you're gonna be the one ending that person's life. You're gonna have neurological conditions because of it, because there's no way someone can live with killing someone, live their life normally with that weight on them.
What do you mean, the person who does the actual death of the death penalty?
Yes.
Well, they don't know who does it, right?
Who's they?
When they execute somebody, it's 4 people that push a button to inject the person, so that none of the 4 people know that it was them.
I think you're still living with it. You have a 1 out of 4 chance that you did it, like 25% chance.
But you can also rationalize and say it wasn't me.
It depends on the person.
Right.
And those that agreed to do that job are
they know what they're
most
getting
likely
into.
in favor of the death penalty.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it probably would not be a conflict or any form of mental conflict that we would know of going on in their head, because
Right. They've
they
chosen.
agree with what's going on. But I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's like I choose my day to spend my day with teenagers who complain to me all day. So
I can't do that.
Well, I actually can't pick a crime. I'm not saying that all crime is like equal to each other, but the more fatal, the more crimes toward like, people dying. Say like the armed robbery, fatal robberies, or serial killing, like you said. Yeah, terrorism and stuff like that. I'm not saying that they all should like deserve the death penalty automatically, but if people think that will protect the other people per se in that country, that area, that state, that town, or whatever, then so be it. I'm not saying that I do oppose it or I do agree with it. I'm neutral with this. So I'm saying if the government thinks that that person should deserve the death penalty, then I'm saying that's just what it is. So yeah.
well, I think you bring up an important one, or one of you said the T word, terrorism, and we just had a terrorist a couple of days ago in New York City try to blow up people at the bus station. And you didn't know about that, Simone?
No, I did not know
don't watch
about that.
the news? Jeez.
No, I'm sorry.
I think it was Tuesday morning. It was a couple of days ago. Now, this guy's intent, see, like, where does, and this is where you get in a slippery slope with crimes and prosecuting and stuff, is his intent was to harm many people. That was his intent as a terrorist. However, he built such a shoddy bomb that he had strapped to himself that when it exploded, he only hurt himself, and he didn't even kill himself. He's in a hospital right now. Okay? But should that guy be, if there is a death penalty, and if we do have a death penalty, should he be tried for the death penalty? His intent was to kill hundreds of people. Now, he happened to be terrible at building a bomb, apparently. So does his ineptness save him from getting the death penalty?
Should his mistake save him?
I don't know. Should it?
Well, I don't know. Well, he did have the intent of killing people.
He didn't kill anyone.
He didn't kill
he didn't
anyone.
even kill. The bomb was strapped to himself, and he didn't even kill himself.
So what's the problem here? He hurt himself.
Yeah.
It's like if I say that I'm going to punch you in the face, and when I swing, I fall to the floor.
Karma. There you go.
Is that he could have, like, and if he was smart enough, he would have. Like, I think that's.
But he wasn't.
Okay.
Let's just say
Isn't.
this
I'm not-
hypothetically.
I'm
if
not
he
saying
did.
I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just asking.
Like, if he did, then maybe it'll be put into perspective. But
Right.
he didn't, so I'm guessing he'll get a couple of years in jail, and that'll be
Right.
it. Maybe some parole, and that'll be it. But with the death penalty, with that, him not killing people, I don't think it would be necessary.
Okay.
Because nobody died.
All right. I'm with you.
I think the topic of terrorism is just, it doesn't really relate to the death penalty because I personally don't feel like killing one terrorist is going to stop anything.
Well, that's why I said that you brought up the T word is terrorism becomes sort of a whole different
right
ball of wax.
Perspective.
Yeah,
think a lot of that is a reflection of the government and what they've been doing for the
Right.
past few
absolutely.
years. So
Past
for the government,
past 30.
yeah.
years, more than a few.
So for them to then go back on their word of, oh, let's protect and save our people when we do similar actions to their people, and vice versa, how they come here and do things to us. And there's actually Americans that are a part of ISIS, even though it is a Islamic or a wherever. Where did it begin?
It began in the Middle East.
Yeah, in
It's
the
an
Middle
Islamic
Eastern-
terrorist group
So I think
in Iraq and Syria. on
killing
the
one
border.
terrorist would probably just be a way to wave the person up and say, hey, we
Hey,
have
look,
your prize,
yeah.
look what we did, but it's really not going to stop anything. I don't think that's going to be effective because most of the terrorists are willing to risk their lives anyways. So that's not
Right.
effective at all.
It's probably a much bigger organization than you possibly may think it is. So, yeah.
Arguments have been made that the death penalty is cheaper than incarcerating criminals at the state's expense, meaning that it comes out of our taxes to pay for their imprisonment, and therefore it is a better option. How would you defend or oppose this statement?
Oh, we got the government girl here. We're going to hear about it.
Question: are you saying that the death penalty is cheaper than?
Yeah.
Oh, cheaper than putting them in jail?
Well, because if someone gets put on death row, they spend usually about probably like 10 to 15 years on death
Yeah.
row before they're executed. But they could live to be 80 years old and sit in prison for 50 years.
Right.
Where we have to, the taxpayer is the one that pay for them to have,
Actually, stay in the
yeah.
jail, right?
Well, yeah, the taxpayers pay for the jails.
You're right.
So we pay for their 3 meals a day, the electricity that keeps the jail open, all that kind of stuff.
Well, this is why we need prison reform. There are private prisons who are gaining money from people being incarcerated. So if we just all we really have to do is put people in jail who deserve to be in jail. There are people in jail who really don't deserve to be in jail, like for taxes. Just how are they going to pay off their taxes by being in jail? They're not earning any money. So that's a whole new problem with prison reform that I feel like.
Yeah, you're talking about sort of the prison industrial complex rather than, but I think Tori's question is that a viable argument for the death penalty?
No.
Okay. I don't think it is, but some people will give it. Some people will give it as an argument. Well, no, they're not. That's the point. If you kill them, then they don't spend that time in
What
prison.
you were saying was that they spent all those years on death row, right?
Right.
So they're still going to be.
But if a guy's 20 years old and kills somebody and he gets put on death row, he'll be dead by the time he's 35 on death row. Eventually, all the appeals processes will run out and the state will kill him by the time he's 35. But he could live in jail till he's 80 if he spent life in prison. So that's another 45 years you're paying for him to be in prison.
Just to be killed?
No, what I'm saying, if you don't have the death penalty, the person
Oh.
gets life in prison.
Right.
They could live in prison for 40 years.
Okay.
And we're paying for that every day.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you have the death penalty and you say, or who was it just recently got, I don't remember who it was, some killer just got 6 consecutive life sentences, which is one of my favorite things.
Does the last name start with a J?
I think so.
I think I know who you're talking about.
He got 6 consecutive life sentences. What does that mean? We only have one life. We're not cats. But so the point is, Simone, he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. When if there's a death penalty, he would only spend maybe 5 years in jail before the state executes him. And we're paying for all that time for him to be in jail.
Right.
There's a per inmate cost per day to be in jail. Part of the problem goes deeper to what Andrea said is we have too many people incarcerated that shouldn't be incarcerated.
Just like the prison system, there are often people that are on death row that were innocent.
Right.
So this is a question I'm posing. How would you explain that for those that are in favor of the death penalty? How would you explain that being done.
Well, the one thing with that is we have fewer of that now than we did in the past because of things like DNA evidence and things like and that kind of. We are much better at disproving that people didn't commit a crime.
Correct.
That doesn't mean there aren't people that are wrongly incarcerated, but for someone who's going to have committed enough crimes to be put to the death penalty, there are a lot fewer mistakes now than there used to be. Would be my argument toward that.
And so, just to clarify, our final question: are you in favor or against the death penalty?
I'm neutral.
Neutral.
What does that mean?
Like, I'm not in favor for it.
Mr. Miyagi said, walk on left side of road safe. Walk
God.
on right side of road safe. Walk down middle of road, get squashed like grape.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Squash like grape. Okay. Well, I'm saying I'm neutral. I'm not saying, like, I'm against it or oppose it. I oppose the death penalty because when I don't want to, like, get, like, mixed up in the confusion, like the confusion of why the death penalty is a great thing and why the death penalty, no, you shouldn't kill people. Like, I don't want to be a part of that. So I'm going to stay neutral about it just for
America great.
So
make America great again.
So
The fact that
I think Simone's point would be you wouldn't base your vote on someone based on their belief of the death penalty. You would look at other things.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll look at it, like, on a more of a, like, broader term.
Okay.
I disagree with that approach.
I say no to the death penalty. I don't think we should take anyone's life. No one should be in charge of that.
Okay. Karen?
I don't think it's a good solution.
So you're against it?
Yeah, it just
It doesn't bring an overall
it's like the easy way out.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Like, people just do it because they think it's easier for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's more people on the streets right now probably doing the same exact crime, but they just haven't been caught yet.
Right.
So what is it really doing?
Is
You're
it really
just-
preventing any crime?
Yeah, you're just killing the person you caught.
Right. Okay.
So, like, it's kind of like people know the crime they're committing before they commit it. So really, the death penalty isn't really effective.
Yeah.
All right. I don't believe in the death penalty either. What about you, Tori?
For me, I don't believe in the death penalty. I sometimes don't even believe in the prison system. I feel as though that killing or imprisoning someone for their crimes is not going to change anything. That's just me. I think if it was going to change anything, we would have a way better America or a way better system. I think it starts with enforcing laws already, not just waiting for them to be caught and then finding a solution. So it starts there. That's just my opinion. Okay. Yes. Okay, and on behalf of BA Forum, we thank you for tuning in and listening to today's podcast. Be sure to come back in the next few weeks, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.